As sports history fans, we often reminisce about the legends. Willis Reed limping onto the NBA Finals court, Kurt Schilling's bloody sock, Kerry Strug's courageous dismount, and so many more. These moments often define sports history. But what about the countless injuries that did not become legends, or careers that were derailed due to inadequate care? That's where this episode's sponsor comes in. Introducing to you, ILP Sports Consultants, your trusted sports injury partner, available 24/7. Brian Maelli at ILP Sports Consultants has over 20 years of experience in the orthopedic and sports medicine industry, and he has worked with athletes across the gamut, from youth to amateurs, professionals, in almost every sport played in the United States of America, accommodating athletes at every stage of their career. This adaptability ensures that ILP services are perfectly tailored to your skill level, no matter where you are in your athletic journey. With ILP, you are in control. Choose the steps that matter most to you. Diagnosis, treatment plan, recovery, or the whole journey. ILP services are tailored to your unique needs. Rushing for care is a common pitfall, leading to future problems. ILP Sports Consultants helps you make the right decisions, ensuring that you receive timely and safe care. And here's a bonus. Brian hosts the Injured List podcast, sharing insights and athlete stories you won't want to miss. Whether you're a concerned parent or grandparent, or an athlete yourself seeking guidance, ILP Sports Consultants is your beacon of hope in sports injury management. Visit ilpsports.com today. That's the letters ilpsports.com. ILP Sports Consultants, where your well-being is the priority and your recovery is the mission. Choose ILP Sports Consultants for a healthier sports journey, helping you get back in the game the smart way.
Blog Talk Radio.
Tonight we'll go back in time to seasons past, when 22 men graced the rugged fields of yesterday, fighting for one more first down, one more yard gain, one final score which would bring victory after 60 minutes of battle on the gridiron. Tonight we'll explore the world of Gridiron Greats. Welcome to Gridiron Greats Football History and its Memorabilia on the Gridiron Greats Publisher and Broadcasting Network, in conjunction with Swick Enterprises, and we're live from the Wallingford, Connecticut home of Gridiron Greats Magazine. I'm Bob Swick, publisher and editor of Gridiron Greats Magazine, and I'll be your host for the show. Gridiron Greats is the only publication in America which focuses upon the history and memorabilia of the North American football game since its inception in 1869. We cover 150-plus years of football history and memorabilia. You can find us on the web at GridironGreatsMagazine.com. It is at this time I'd like to introduce my co-host. He's a senior contributing writer to Gridiron Greats Magazine, a football memorabilia historian, specializing in pre-World War II items, in particular Red Grange, and also Seattle Seahawk items, in particular Steve Largent. He hails from Portland, Oregon, Mr. Joe Squires. Joe, welcome to the show this evening.
Great to be back, Bob. You had a little bit of an extra throat rattle in there when you in your salutation. Football. It made me laugh. I love it.
I'm rested, so that's why I can roll double L for a while.
You can get it.
But in any event, before we get started talking about our pregame before our special guest comes on, a couple people asked me, Gridiron Greats went in the mail last week, and amazingly, a lot of people got it right away. I'm kind of shocked because we actually got it in the mail to the post office Friday, and I had reports on Monday of people receiving their copy. I know you're on the West Coast. Hopefully you're going to get it.
I got mine yesterday.
Shortly. Oh, okay, great.
I got mine yesterday.
That's good.
I was outside playing football with my son, and the mail lady, walked up and, now they're if you're outside they just set it on the. So she said, and I saw the big white Swick Enterprise envelope, and I went running over.
Great. Okay, so it's out. It's available. Those people who do not subscribe, please check out our website, gridirongreatsmagazine.com. 1 year, $29.95, one of the best bargains in the football collecting world. We also have online issues. If you prefer a PDF for a mere $5, you can order that online and it'll be sent to you. We also have back issues from our current issue all the way back to the first issue we published, which was number 23 many, many years ago. And we have a special. You can buy all the back issues for one low price. If you're interested in it, I highly suggest if you want all the back issues, I'm running very, very low on 3 different of the earlier issues. So please, by all means, put in your order, and we'll take care of it. And you'll have an incredible amount of football history and memorabilia to read about when you receive those copies. There's a major auction that occurred and closed this past weekend. And, Joe, I'm going to lead into you and hand off to you. Let's talk a little bit about our good friend Brian Dwyer's REA auction.
Yeah, past guest of Gridiron Greats, Brian Dwyer, like you mentioned. He's the president of Robert Edward Auctions, REA. Good friend. Known Brian a while when he used to work back at SGC. We had a really good time with him on the show. But their biannual, twice-a-year auction went off on Sunday night. A really, really good football sampling. There were probably 65, 70 raw sets in there, ranging from 1948 Leaf. They had a 49 Leaf, 48 Bowman, all the way up to, I believe, 86 tops and everything in between. I had to create a spread. There's a lot of raw sets that I'm missing, so I had to literally create a spreadsheet to track what lot number had what sets, because there were some lots where it's like 61, 62, 63 Fleer, all in one lot, and there were other ones where it was just 61 Fleer. So, it was definitely a military operation to go into that plan, which ones you're going to go after, and then as the auction's firing off, deciding which one you're going to focus on. So it was just a lot of, like I said, a lot of raw sets. There was a lot of unopened wax, which leads us up to today's guests. And there was the one that I was really tracking. There was a 1916 M1015 Sporting News Jim Thorpe. Jim Thorpe's slumming in this card. He's playing for the San Francisco Giants, but Jim Thorpe is and always will be known for his football prowess. So to me, it's a football card. Blank backed. I mean, and one of these days we're probably going to have to, do a show on the M1015 and 4 set and just the blank back versus like famous and bar set. But that card was graded SGC 1.5, and I went for $14,500 plus VIG. So almost $16,000 for an SGC 1.5.
Unbelievable. That is just so unbelievable. It amazes me.
Any 2 buyers, I guess. There's a Bronco Nagurski, a 1935 Chickle Bronco Nagurski graded PSA 4 that went in the auction for $9,500 plus VIG. So that's a little bit shy of $12,000 for a PSA 4, which PSA 4 in that kind of shape usually goes for between $4,000 and $6,000. So nearly double the price of a usual PSA 4 Nagurski.
Right.
There was, yep, leading into some unopened, a tip of the hat to our guests. There was a penny pack for 51 Bowman, which I hadn't seen one in probably 8 or 9 years. PSA 7, which is very high grade for over almost a 70-year-old pack, that has one card and a piece of gum in it. $1,800. A couple of my favorite sets, 79 Topps set, a 36 wax pack box, BBC sealed, $1,250. 84 Topps, definitely my favorite set, another 36 pack box, $1,000. Back when I was buying $400 for a 36 pack, box.
Wow.
I mean,
wow.
I used to watch them, and when they went for that low, I'd buy them. And when they went above that, I'd let them go. So it's interesting. In the last 8 years, unopened wax has nearly doubled in price.
Right. I mean, it is amazing. And again, I understand I think we both understand the laws of supply and demand. It's just not out there. And
good point.
Again, though, me being old-fashioned, I would love to see what the cards were in the packs. You know what I mean? I would have a difficult time not opening up the pack type of thing. But then again, too, you open up a pack and there's nobody in there, or the cards are completely damaged from the being inside, for whatever reason, wax, gum marks, gum stains, so on and so forth. It's a pretty big risk. So obviously, we see if they're being bought, they're going to be kept unopened. You know what I mean? So that's something that we
for the most part, yeah.
Based upon that. So, but in any event, and again, it was one incredible auction. I was just truly amazed at it. And what was the biggest surprise for you, if any, seeing what happened there? I'm just curious.
Definitely.
If there was,
definitely
any
that.
surprise.
It was a good auction. There was nothing in that auction that was I must have this. And usually REA offers up one or two things where you're like, holy crap, where did they find that? This one had a lot of great things. For sheer breadth of just the raw sets, the unopened, the unopened wax they were offering, but even the 1916 M1014. I mean, that was a eBay-esque card, especially in SGC 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll be honest, the two ones that really shocked me were. They were a couple baseball cards, some 52 Topps Mantle rookie cards that I was watching just out of curiosity. So, but a great auction, a solid auction. But I can just remember, what was it, a year ago? BST had an auction that just had all kinds of, Mike Blaisdell's things that were just one of a kind, and you're just playing whack-a-mole. You're like, all right, I want 10 things, but I can only afford X things. But this was
right.
I only picked up a couple things: a Red Grange Type 1 photo, and a couple of uncut sheets, and that was about it. I mean, yeah, nothing huge.
Well, I think I think there's something. To me, there's something to say having only one or two auctions a year, because I really believe, you can plan better. I feel both the auction house can plan better, the consignor could probably plan better, and then most importantly, you as the bidder can plan much better also. And in doing so, you're able to obtain, if you got your eye on a dozen things and 6 or 7 of those things come true for you, then you're fine. I mean, that's what it's all about. You're actually picking up what you need for your collection, and therefore, you planned on it, you budgeted for it, so on and so forth. The other way you're looking at it, auctions every other week, every other day, yada yada yada. They become confusing almost. You know what I mean? You can't even keep track of them. And again,
like heritage, constantly having auctions going on.
Exactly. I mean, it's an overkill more than anything else. I mean, you want to move inventory, you want to move product. You have X amount of auctions all the time. If I was a consignor, I'd be kind of concerned about that because I would be saying to myself, okay, where's my stuff going to land, and is anybody going to actually look at it? You know?
Yeah.
So that's got to be taken into consideration. Go ahead.
There's also a cost, so I mean, REA doing twice a year versus like 4 auctions a year. I would think one of the biggest costs is photographing everything, writing script for everything.
Oh yeah.
Setting up a catalog, printing a catalog, packaging a catalog, and mailing a catalog. Al Crisafulli at Love of the Game told me once, that was one of his big costs is that dang catalog. But the problem is, a lot of people love a catalog. Me personally, I get the catalog, I thumb through it once or twice, and then I go online. I don't use the catalogs very much. And to me,
I had that conversation with Al a couple of years ago at one of the the last national at Cleveland. We had a long conversation on it, and I said, Al, I'll tell you straight out, I got a lot of my readers who are print guys. They're older fellas.
Yeah.
They're not, they know how to use the computer. They can get by. But like I said, we want to read something. We want to read your magazine. We don't want to read it online. We want the physical copy. We want to pick it up, put it down, so on and so forth. And they feel the same way with catalogs. And I know a couple guys said, and I said, you gotta come out with a catalog, even if you print less of them, or just request from people. I do still want to print catalog, or I'm online now. I don't need it. That'll save costs there too. And I look at any catalog I get, and I got a lot of catalogs in not as many as I used to, but I do have a lot of catalogs. And to me, for football, they're irreplaceable for the simple reason you're actually seeing. You have a physical picture of the item. It could be exceptionally rare. All of Mike's stuff, to me, the ones, all those catalogs are very valuable because you're seeing stuff you've never seen in the hobby before. Or if you've seen it, you've only seen it once or twice in the past 30 years. So to me, it's historical and it's very valuable, and I still say they're necessary in auctions. And again, it's an expense. But, this is it.
Yeah, and Al had thrown out the idea where it's like opt out. Let's say he has 1,000 people bidding at an auction. If you opt out of receiving a catalog, you'll get $15 off shipping or something.
Yeah,
so
exactly, something like that.
Maybe out of 1,000 people, 400 say they don't need a catalog, and then next auction it's 500, and then eventually he's only printing 200 catalogs, and then he weans it off because there's obviously the price for the photographer setting up and printing the catalog is there's sunken cost to doing that. Printing and shipping is just one aspect of it. I don't know.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people who want their catalog, who love to read it. That's not me. And to those people who are like, well, I want a catalog, I want something to read. Well, how do you bid? I mean, obviously you bid online.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point you're logging into the website anyways.
Yeah. So it's an interesting dilemma almost for a lot of the auction houses. And at the same time, I think the small yet big auction houses like Love of the Game, REA, so on and so forth, they still understand the value of a catalog, and they will continue, producing it. And I still find great interest. You go to a national, and you look at a lot of the auction houses. They have older catalogs out there that they're giving away for free, and I always grab them if there's anything in football in them. And, to me, they're a good reference tool. They're good historical tool. There's a lot of different aspects of it that are very positive for the hobby. And again, I think it is it's essential for our older collectors who want the paper, want to use the catalog, so on and so forth, to help them bid and pick up what they want at the same time. So I think it's important. All right,
Hello?
I think our okay.
This is Steve at the Baseball Card Exchange.
Yeah, okay. Hold on. Our guest is here. Let me introduce him. And Joe and I wrapped up our discussion on REA's auction, and I'd like to welcome our special guest this evening. He has become the most respected and trusted authenticator of unopened wax product. He's the owner of Baseball Card Exchange, BBCE, and I'd like to introduce to our audience tonight Mr. Steve Hart. Steve, welcome to the show this evening.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being
on, Steve.
No problem.
Steve, I'd like to lead off and ask you, can you give us and fill in our audience a bit about your background and how you became an expert on unopened material?
Well, let's see. I've been doing this full-time every day for 30 years now, since I opened the Baseball Card Exchange in 1990. And I was doing shows 5 years before that, so I've been doing this forever. It's the only job I've ever had and the only one I've ever known. And the reason I got into unopened early on was just I was fascinated with the fact that the stuff was still out there from the 50s, 60s, and 70s unopened. It shouldn't be that way. I mean, it should have been opened. So the fact that it was still around like that just was fascinating to me.
Wow.
It's so nostalgic. I mean, this is Joe, Steve. Thanks again for being on the show. I appreciate you getting back to me so quick when we reached out.
No problem.
But I'm 49. I grew up in the 70s, and the first packs I opened, I bought at a 7-Eleven near my grandmother's, and so to me, wax packs are so nostalgic. So even seeing them in a box just takes me back to that that moment in time.
Right.
When I was a 9-year-old kid plunking down $1 and chewing the gum on my way back to my grandma's house. But you're right. There are the collectors of the unopened, and then there's the people who open.
Yep, and it's just so so rare. It's fascinating. I mean, for example, just take a 1965 Topps Mantle. There's tens and tens and tens of thousands of them. You could buy them in any grade, at any price, at any time of the day. How many wax packs are there from 1965, though? Can't buy them anytime, at any price, at any time of the day. They're just not out there.
And Steve, this is a football show, so we generally work in Unitas's and Namus. So
okay, same concept.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Just to give a little bit back of my background, I started open wax packs in 1965, so I distinctly remember, the 65 Topps, the Tall Boys, the 65 Phillies, and I can still visualize all these years later. I'm 61. I can still visualize buying the packs out of the box, giving the attendant, the cashier, the nickel or the dime I had, and then open up my pack. So, it is nostalgic, and it is amazing. And the point you make is very, very valid, Steve. There's thousands of the cards out there, but there's so few of the packs. It's just it's mind-boggling in a way.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. It's fascinating what's out there and what's not available.
A little tangent. I think it was like 7 or 8 years ago at a national. I gave Bob a 65 Philly GAI graded unopened wax, and at the national we all get together for dinner, and Bob opened it and kind of looked up at me and he's like, "Thanks, Joe, I appreciate it, but this has been resealed." He goes, "The poster is folded right," and I'm like, "Wow!" But I mean, for Bob to remember, being a kid that long ago, and to know how the poster was folded up and that it was improper. No surprise it was from GAI, your long lost competitor. But that leads us into the next question. I mean, obviously you've been doing it for 30 years. This is the only job you've had. I mean, other than expertise, I mean, what are you looking for when you're determining something's good or bad, other than opening it up to take a peek?
Well, I guess doing this in my day and in my sleep at night, it's taken that long to be able to look at it and almost feel it, see it. I mean, it's almost a good picture in your head, Topps rolling that roller mark across the back and melting the wax. That roller mark is very distinct, and it only went in one direction. copy it over and over and over, and it's just very, very difficult to get it right. The other problem is that Topps, fold these packs on the corners in the same way about 99% of the time. A lot of times when people reseal and make homemade packs, they really can't create those corner folds just right.
Aren't they generally taking an old, old wrapper and folding it back where it was folded? I get what you're saying with the with the roller. I mean, are you looking at that under a magnifying glass just to look for different marks for wax or something, or?
Usually just under intense light. If you bend it the right way, you could perfectly see that roller mark. Make sure there's no swipes in it, no fingerprints in it, no incorrect matching on it. So it's pretty easy to tell and pretty easy to spot the fakes, but they're getting better, just like anything.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Now, how about the wax box too? You're able to. What's your process on a wax box? Obviously, if it's tight, I would assume. I know a lot of people buy empty wax boxes, and if they get, say, for instance, 84 Topps football, they'll buy an empty wax box and then fill it up with 36 packs and then try to sell it off, type of thing.
Right.
How can you tell? I'm just curious, and our audience is probably curious. How can you tell like a wax box is truly unopened?
Well, the part about that isn't the exact science is I could go through all 36 packs and make sure each 36 pack is correct and untampered with. As far as those being the original 36 packs in that box, you just can't tell. Sometimes you could see different variations in the color of the wrappers, meaning it was probably built. But a lot of times, the wrappers are just consistently the same color and the same shape. So, if somebody was to build a box, really, you just can't tell. This is especially true with cello and, they may pull something out of it with a star on top and replace it with a common pack, and unfortunately, you just can't tell.
Huh.
The only product you can tell is 86 Fleer basketball, which of course is the Jordan rookie, because that stuff came in a very distinct pattern and sequence. That I could tell when somebody switched things in and out.
And when you seal your wax packs boxes, you discern between if it was built or if you think it came from the factory that way, correct? I forget how you do that.
On 86 Fleer, yes. Everything else, no, because you just don't know. You just can't tell.
Okay.
Now, we also sell boxes where we label it from a sealed case on the bottom of the label. Those are boxes that a sealed case has to come to me. I have to be the one to open it. Nobody else, my employees or nobody else can open it. It still has to be originally factory sealed the way it was issued by Topps, Fleer, Donruss, Upper Deck, or whatever. We will then mark those boxes from a sealed case, and that's the best and only way you'll know that no human has ever looked at those since they left the factory.
I love it.
Say, talk about your company. How'd you get started? How did this all come about?
Well, like I said, when I was a teenager, I was doing shows all the time, and I had built up a pretty decent collection till then. And then when I was 20 years old, I wanted to open a store, and luckily I had the support from my parents. Most people probably thought I was crazy, and I probably was. But, my parents pushed me into it, and ever since that day in 1990, I've been here every day, keep pushing hard and working the best I can.
So it started as a storefront, and then at some point, Al Gore invented the internet, and you became a really strong online presence.
Yep. And originally, we would take our boxes and shrink wrap them and put a business card on the bottom. This really had nothing to do with marketing the unopened product for other people to have this done. We just did it to wrap it for security and shipping, and put our business card on there kind of for advertising. And, obviously I wasn't going to sell something that was no good and then attach my name to it. And then slowly people started asking us if I could do that for their material to make sure it was good. And then it kind of blew up, and we've had to, over the years, add more security to keep up with the fraud, and that's where we are today.
And what year was that where you got the first person who reached out and was like, I've got a box of X, and I'd like you to see if you could verify it, or something like that?
I'm thinking around 10 years ago we started, and we were using a clear shrink wrap and a simple label on the bottom, but of course that was copied real quick by criminals out there. So then we had to go with the logoed shrink wrap, and then we went to the hologram to add to the box. So we just keep trying to stay ahead of them.
Wow. Yeah, that's the next one. I mean, I distinctly remember I used to have a lot of unopened, and I probably had about 100, 120 boxes, and I would say most of them were, BBC sealed, and some of them were. Excuse me, I probably had about 70.
Okay.
I had about 188 tops that I bought from a guy in Seattle. Those were pretty much useless, so I kept those. But at some point, I consigned them, and I'm not sure if you remember this. This is probably 10 years ago. I consigned them to Probstein. And Probstein called me, and he's like, hey, Steve Hart called me, and like 6 of your Wax Packs boxes that are BBC sealed are fake. He said, It's sealed, and the sticker looks good, but it's not his signature.
Right.
And I was like, all right, well, what do I do with that? And then, so he mailed them back to me. I opened them, and, I opened them and had fun.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was right about the time you came out with the not the hologram, but the BBC imprinted shrink wrap.
Right. Yeah, like I said, this didn't originally start as an idea of authenticating for the public or for other people. It was just to do our own stuff, and then people started asking more and more and more to do theirs. So that's when it blew up.
Yeah, and like you said, keeping ahead of the bad guys. I imagine years ago you had time to look at auctions and like, oh wait a minute, that's not my signature. What the hell? And now it's got to be tougher just keeping ahead of the bad guys.
Yep. And if you notice, last few years, the lady who does the labels named Kathy, she has very distinct handwriting, very difficult to counterfeit. I mean, we kind of did that as an idea to have her do it because her handwriting is very odd, and we have yet to see it successfully counterfeited. Wow.
So people are still out there trying to. Well, I guess there are. I mean, people are trimming cards. People are. I mean, man, there's people messing with our beloved hobby all over the place. So, yeah, I guess it comes as no surprise.
It's every aspect of life. I mean, when the government makes new $100 bills within 2 or 3 weeks, they're flooded all over the streets. So anybody can, they do anything they can to make a quick buck.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's got to be tough because it's your reputation, it's your product, it's your life, your life's work, and whenever someone's dinging at it, whenever someone's chipping away at it or trying, I mean, it's your reputation on the line to stay one step ahead of them. It's got to be tough.
Right. Yep. In fact, soon we'll be coming out with another aspect of the box to help from counterfeiting. So we'll be releasing that information in a few months.
Yeah.
We were going to launch it. We were going to launch it at the National Convention, but right now we don't even know if we're going to have a National Convention.
Yeah, I got a gut feeling because they're using that facility for a portable hospital right now. I can't see it being ready in July in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, if our convention was in Idaho, I'd have more trust that it would be there. But being that it's in a very tough state and a hot spot with the virus, yep, exactly. Yeah. I know Comic-Con already canceled theirs. And it's a week before our national, and it's in California where the virus is really tame, so it's not looking good.
Yeah. Sadly, I live in the tri-state area, so I get a daily dose of this problem here, and it seems the hotbed, unfortunately, is Manhattan, and I'm 90 miles from Manhattan, and I'm about 5 hours from Atlantic City, so I can't see it happening in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to get off script a bit, and we'll talk a bit about the national. How do you? I'm just curious from my own view. You're at a national. You set up. Joe Schmo comes in with his dad's box of whatever 1955 Bowman football. He says to you, I'm interested in selling it. My father had this, for 50 years. Yada yada yada. How do you approach somebody like that? I'm just curious and again, the authenticity of the box, so on and so forth.
Okay, well, if they actually have the box with them, the first thing let me take a look at it. Make sure it's good.
Yeah.
Make sure it's clean. The gum hasn't eaten through all the cards, which I've seen. Mildew, mice. The Rowland Rosen find from Paris, Tennessee. A lot of stuff got eaten by mice. So, first I'll just make sure it's good and clean. At that point, I'll, show them some, what the realized pack prices go for, and a realized box price if I could even find one. If it's something that rare, we may not be able to know. And then we just negotiate from there.
All right. Then the second question is, how many does that usually happen to you when you're at a national? I'm curious about it. I know the Nationals lately only been between Cleveland and Chicago, with the one time in Atlantic City and a couple times in Baltimore. But and again, Chicago seems to be centralized for everybody, so that's why they like having it there, so on and so forth. So I'm just curious if you see more at one location than in another, so on and so forth.
Well, when we're talking 50s and 60s stuff, it doesn't come in at all anymore, unfortunately. We've had Gaudi's collections walk in, tobacco collections walk in, Cracker Jack collections walk in that we've bought. Very rarely does something pre-1970 walk in anymore. It's just too rare and too hard to find. But I would still say, to your question, Chicago still seems to produce the most stuff. If we're talking 70s and stuff that is still available, usually Chicago's the best show for us to buy.
Okay. All right. And that's the closest show for you because you guys are in Indiana. So
right in our backyard. Yep. Hour away.
That's good. And that leads me back onto the script. Can you describe to our audience, since we're football related, what was one of the biggest major or unique football unopened finds you discovered, and or actual collections that you bought football-wise over the years? If you had one, two, whatever it may be.
As far as unopened goes, a few years ago, I didn't make the find myself, but I had another dealer walk into my office with 2 boxes of 1958 Topps football wax, still in the case. The case was unbelievable. I'd never seen one. And the boxes, I don't think anybody had ever put their hands on them. They were pristine, perfect. The lids, I don't think had ever been opened. They were still stiff. So as cool as that was, $100,000 boxes, while I was authenticating each one of them, looking at the roller mark on the back, one pack in each box had a Jim Brown rookie staring up at me.
Wow.
So, not only was it an unbelievably rare box that was in unbelievably perfect shape, it also had, each box also had a Jim Brown rookie showing on the back of each pack, of one pack in each box.
Wow. And how's that work with the synergy between you and PSA? Because does PSA still use you for their grading?
Yes, I still do all the. I still do all the pack authentication for PSA. So since they don't do full boxes, due to my contract with PSA, I'm allowed to do that on my own. Now, usually when it comes to single packs, people ask me if I could wrap them or label them or whatever. That has to go through PSA according to my contract.
Now, how does that work? Do they mail you? You submit a pack to PSA, they mail it to you. A larger top loader, and you put a sticky note on there or write in Sharpie, what grade it should be, and it's good, and mail back.
Yep, when the packs arrive at PSA, they'll let them build up until they have a quantity. Then they'll overnight them all to me. They've already got each pack in its own bag, bubble bag, already with a sticker on it with the item, the serial code, the barcode, and everything. All I got to do is give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down, pop it right back in the bag, and ship them back.
Nice. I've always enjoyed you have a really good social media presence where you guys would take these road trips, jump in a van, and you get people who reach out to you and they have a collection of wax, and you schedule it in. And I forget the guy's name, but he'd do road trips when he'd show the van, when he loaded stuff up and stuff like that. I always thought those were fascinating to watch, and if they were ever to make a film out of that, like a comedy film, like a Disney film, who do you think would star as you? Do you think it's like a Vince Vaughn, or who would play you in that?
Boy, I never thought of anything like that. Oh boy.
Sure,
we'll go with Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn. Okay. So you're definitely saying you have a good sense of humor.
Yeah. As far as social media goes, though, it's not my favorite platform, and maybe that's just because I'm older and. Until the other day, I had no idea what Instagram meant until my daughter finally told me what an Instagram was.
Yeah, any business, you saw from my emails. I mean, I own an electric company, but any business with a social media presence, you're just opening yourself up, to the trolls. It's pretty bad. So I mean. I used to collect unopened wax. I got a little disenfranchised with just the amount of, raw, raw that was unsealed or that was resealed, and then, and then even the fake BBC stuff. I mean, that's not a ding on you. I'm just saying there's a-holes out there who are always, trying. What advice would you give to somebody who, is like our age, who is nostalgic about opening up wax and sees wax pack and like, oh my God, that takes me back to my childhood. To somebody offering them a raw wax pack or wax box, what advice?
Well, if it's anything of value, and by value I say maybe packs over $10, $15, maybe boxes over $50 or $100. eBay probably is the worst place to buy that stuff raw. I mean, it's just a dumping ground for resealed and homemade product. But, I mean, that goes along with autographs. That goes along with vintage cards that are trimmed. eBay is just a dumping ground for all the bad stuff. So, if you're going to buy that kind of stuff, make sure you know who you're getting it from. Maybe they have a reputation, and maybe they'll stand behind their product. But just blindly buying that stuff on eBay is probably not a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, trimming. I mean, 48 leaf is one of the most widely trimmed sets.
Yes.
And about once a year, somebody will be like, hey, I bought this PSA 8 card. I'm like, man, it's trimmed. You really got to know your stuff. Well, no, it's not trimmed. It's in a PSA slab.
I know.
Well, every once in a while,
somebody
flip one by the goalie.
The other day, somebody showed me a seller on eBay selling tons of autographs, just tons and tons of autographs, and they, have them priced at 25% of market. Tom Brady autographs and Kobe Bryant autographs and Jordan autographs, hundreds and hundreds. Not a single one of them was good. And you would think that, if a Tom Brady autographed card is being sold for $50, that would be a red flag. But if you look at completed listings, people are buying that stuff like crazy.
Oh yeah.
What's some really? I went through and perused your website, before this. But what do you say is one of the coolest football packs you have in inventory right now?
Let me think. I don't think we have them up on the website yet, but I have some 71 football cello packs coming in. As soon as PSA opens their doors again and has them graded, they'll be in my hands. But that's a tough cello pack. And, with the Bradshaw and the Green rookie is very popular.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. In the past, I've had some of the tall boy packs, the 65 football, and those are just amazing. Super expensive, and they sell immediately.
Oh, yeah. I used to the marquee item of my unopened collection was a 52 Bowman large nickel pack that was PSA graded.
Very rare.
Absolutely loved it. Yep. Absolutely loved it.
The Bowman small packs there was a find of years ago, so those are relatively easy. The large packs are impossible.
Steve, what's the oldest pack football-wise you ever handled over the years? Just curious on that.
40. I can't picture 48 or 49 Leaf or 50 Bowman. I would probably have to say 51 Bowman and Topps
51.
Magic.
Oh, okay, all right.
There was just a 51 Bowman penny pack that sold in REA.
That might have been one of the oldest ones I've seen.
Wow. I could have sworn I've seen some 50 Bowman wax from you, but
it's possible that I had penny packs, but I can't say for sure. It would be awesome if some. Oh, It would be awesome if somebody someday came up with some real chicle packs.
Oh my gosh, that's my white whale, a chicle pack or a chicle uncut sheet. Remember the gentleman probably like 12 years ago who had a 55 Tops All-American cello, find. It was like his uncle worked for Tops and brought home a couple cases or a couple boxes of it, put it in a closet, and he discovered it.
Right.
Remember that find? That had to be kind of cool to see that walking through your door. Just,
I went to the customer's house when he first pulled them from the closet and sat there in awe. It was unbelievable. The packs were as fresh and as mint as could be. They ended up opening a lot of those packs, which of course is where probably all the 9s and 10s in that set came from. But they were just unbelievable.
Yeah, he flooded the market with PSA 10 cards, that's for sure. But so what's it take to get you, the owner, on the road to go look at something? I mean, you just said you went to his house and picked it up. I mean, just vetting that out. Like, hey, I have, I forget how many boxes it was, but I mean, that gets to get you on the road versus you saying, well, why don't you bring it to me? What's that take?
Something that impressive that I've never seen before in that type of quality and condition, I'm willing to just go take a look. I pretty much felt there was zero chance of me being able to buy it, but I still wanted to go look and see because it was just unbelievably impressive.
Wow.
I did make them a hefty offer, but I think in the long run they decided just to open them.
Yeah, they sold a few, and then they opened a few. They wanted to build the top 55 AA set.
Yep. What was interesting about those cello packs is you could only get 60 different cards in those packs. There were 40 cards in cello packs that didn't get issued.
Yep.
So basically, of all those packs they opened, there was 40 cards they were never able to get. Those 40 cards came in the wax packs.
That's true.
Wow.
I forgot all about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, however, the cello pack contained all the good cards. It had all the stars and Hall of Famers except for 2. So basically, the cello packs were loaded with the good cards.
So the wax packs only had 40 cards, not all 100?
Nobody's really sure exactly that I've spoken to, but those 40 missing cards out of the cellos did come in wax. Now, maybe wax had all 1 through 100, but it did have those 40 missing that weren't coming in the cello packs.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I see what you mean. Okay. That is fascinating.
Right.
I wonder, we'd need to see an uncut sheet to figure that out, I guess.
Maybe, yeah.
Only 60. So I'm a prolific uncut sheet collector. There's there's one thing bad guys are going to have a hard time faking is an uncut sheet.
You just bring that up. I was cleaning out my office today, and I found an uncut sheet of 62 Topps football bucks.
Wow.
Is that something you've seen before?
An uncut sheet of 62 Topps, or what do you mean box?
The bucks.
No, the bucks.
The dollar bills.
The bucks.
The bucks.
The inserts. The
Oh,
inserts
the
are
inserts.
in
Got it.
62.
Yes, thank you. Wow, no, I've never seen that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was laying behind my desk, and I probably put it sometime there, and it rolled behind there, and I just found it. Pretty neat looking. Of course, very flimsy because you knew the bucks were very thin.
Yeah, exactly. But
okay,
right
must be a pretty tough item.
It is. I've never seen it. I've got a partial 62 Topps uncut sheet, but that's about it. So it's got to be it's got to be hard logistically just to set up at a national, because every time you guys have such a big booth. It's the center of the world at most nationals. Just only rivaled in size by like PSA, but you guys bring so much inventory. You have so many booths. You have so many people. I mean, it's got to be just a Herculean effort to get all of your products to a national and get set up.
Oh, yeah. I give all the credit there to my best employee, Rick. He was in the military for 20 years as a supply sergeant. He basically has this down to an exact science. It comes in, it's on pallets. Every employee knows their job, and we get it set up and broken down in hours. It's amazing.
Wow.
So I've seen you sell out most of your product at a national before. So, I mean, you're building up reserves of unopened for months before a national, so you can show up and just rack and stack your displays with it, I would imagine.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. Usually we, January, February, March. I start salting away things that would come in, and just for the intention of bringing them to the show, trying to make people happy who make the trip there.
Yeah. I mean, and obviously you're getting people to walk up, buy product, to buy buy your product at the national, but then it's also the carrot. People know you're set up there. People begin to know, that's the place to go to get their stuff, authenticated and or to sell it.
Right. Yep. Yeah, we've been doing on-site authentication at the national for 2 or 3 years now. Unfortunately, it's probably not the best idea we've had, because for the 7 days I'm there, I sit at a desk 10 hours a day going through unopened stuff. I don't have time to introduce myself to my customers, or they can introduce themselves to me, shake hands, and talk. I'm too busy going through wax boxes to enjoy the experience. So we might have to change something in the future, but right now we're going to continue to do on-site authentication.
You don't have any employees that you trust for the authentication yet, or?
I don't think the public wants that. To tell you the truth, I don't think the public wants anybody else looking at it but me. So, again, my employee Rick I've done this with him for years now, and he's probably getting to the point where he's just as good as I am, but still, this is very important to get it right, so I still do it all.
Yeah, the optics of it, I would imagine, too, if people find out that, it's not,
if people found out I wasn't looking at it, they'd probably worry a little bit more, so I continue to look at it all.
That's fascinating.
Well, it's good.
I would have...
That gives your customers and any customers wanting to sell a great comfort level, knowing that you know what you're doing, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Realistic.
Yep. I'm not sure if I could compare it to another industry, but if something was being done and it wasn't being done by the head person, I'd kind of be worried about it myself.
Yeah. Exactly.
Have you? Tell us about a time where you got one wrong, where you're like, "Yep, that's good."
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know if you get on chat boards or anything, but, that I was, have you ever gotten one wrong and then somebody sends you like a screenshot of a chat board where somebody, shows a couple things or says something and you're like, oh shit, I missed that. Or excuse me, you're like, I missed that.
Well, of course I've missed things. I mean, I'd be the biggest egotistical narcissist in the world if I said I had never missed anything. It happens. It's mistake. Like I said, the counterfeiters are getting better and better all the time. Of course I've missed a few things. I give my best. That's all I can do. I can't do any better than that. And when it's happened, the few times it has, we work with the customer. We make them happy.
Yeah.
Even if I have to go on blind faith sometimes and they tell me, I opened a box and I didn't get anything, I'm sure sometimes I've been told that is just a story. But, I still try to work with everybody to make all the parties involved happy.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to wag a finger. In my
business, I'm glad you brought it up.
I always tell people, it's like, we're going to mess up. We do 3,000 service calls a year. We're going to have some pissed off customers. We're going to mess something up,
Oh, yeah.
And how you handle it is what defines your business. So, but, you've got a great reputation in the industry. So obviously when a mistake is made, you handle it well.
Yes, that's all you can do is I do the best I can, and when a mistake is made, I do my best to help fix it.
And then live and learn, and
I definitely won't run from the problem. I'll definitely work with anybody that we have an issue with.
Good on you.
Well, Steve, we're almost out of time. Any final thoughts? And where's your website?
The website is www.bbce.com. We installed a new website about 6 months ago. Very easy to order, very easy to get everything shipped. And I guess I could say right now, too, that I cannot figure out how this is happening, but right now our hobby is at a full-blown crazy, just scorching hot. In this environment, it makes no sense, but stuff has gone absolutely nuts since we've all been shut down in our homes.
Nothing else to do except get online and buy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
The price of stuff is realizing is unbelievable compared to what it was a month ago, before the virus began. It doesn't make sense because, obviously there's no sports. We don't know when we're going to have sports. I think people are worried about the economy and their next paycheck, but our industry has seen no slowdown.
Yeah.
That's good.
Steve, if you ever do come across that 48 leaf wax pack or 35 Chico wax pack, please reach out to me personally, and we'll handle it offline.
You got it.
Definitely my wax pals. I appreciate it.
Maybe I'll open them before I give them to you. Not saying open to reseal. I'm saying opening for my own enjoyment.
Yeah, no kidding.
I rarely open things. I rarely open things anymore to for my own enjoyment, but something like that I would have to consider.
But nice. If you see that Nagurski peeking up at you on the back of the pack, definitely. But
somebody did come to the National with a Sport Kings pack, 33 Sport Kings. Unfortunately, the seal had popped and it kind of been opened, and there was an unbelievably mint Ruth in there.
Wow.
I think it had sustained damage either from mildew or water or something, but it was just amazing to see.
Wow. That'd be
incredible.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Well, thank you, Steve. We appreciate you taking the time and coming on the show. We know you're busy.
Okay. Thanks a lot, guys.
No, thank you. Take it easy.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Steve Hart, owner of the Baseball Card Exchange, BBCE, our guest for tonight. Joe, we're down to a few minutes again. I'm going to go on our 2-minute warning and wrap up. Hand off to you. What'd you pick up on tonight's show?
I like that. Obviously, there's always, questions with, the Wizard of Oz, what goes on behind the curtain there, and when it comes to resealing. And, I trust expertise, in an industry. I'm an expert in my industry, but I know that I make mistakes, and it was very nice to hear that, where it's like, I'm not perfect, but I've been doing it for 30 years, and I know what I'm doing. And I trust that. I like it. And if somebody's going to be like, and I will make a mistake, but I will stand by it, and we try not to make the same mistake twice. I mean, that's kind of the same stuff that I advocate in my business. So it's nice to hear. I like that.
Yeah, that is refreshing because, realistically, that kind of market is very difficult. I understood a lot more today with the way he explained, and I do remember when I had my wrapper collection, some of the wrappers were really very, very crisp, and these were some of my wrappers from the late 60s, 70s, so I could tell they were open and then they were just put away, and you could see variations on the fold marks. So that's something I always thought about when I bought a wrapper. Obviously, I was only concerned with looking at the wrapper, displaying it, usually putting it in a 2-pocket sheet so I could see it type of situation. But, with a wax pack, and I've handled some wax packs over the years, nothing at all like what Steve did. But, a lot of memories of me opening packs over the years, and I opened a lot of packs. I could see how looking at it year in and year out, you could really pick up and know when something is really, truly unsealed. I mean, original, not resealed type of situation. So that's something that has to be taken into consideration. So I give Steve a lot of credit on that. And again, it's like anything. You do it so many times, you become an expert at it. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. I just hope, his theft, his fraud prevention is becoming much more sophisticated, which is healthy for the hobby also. and that's a good thing that we can count on too from them. So that's another thing that we picked up on tonight's show also. But it's funny to me, like I said earlier, and I said to you before the show. I like opening packs. I can't see the value in keeping them, keeping them wrapped. You know what I mean? And I remember one national we were at our dinner, and I don't think you were there, but I opened up a pack of 76 Topps football, figuring I was going to pull a couple Paytons out of it, but I didn't. I got all commons out of it, but they were nice looking commons, and they good memory for me, too, at the same time. All right, we're down to a minute, and we've got our final wrap here. Check out our website, GridironGreatsMagazine.com. Joe, final thoughts?
Just auction season coming up. We've got a heritage auction coming up. Like REA just ended. Leland's just started. I dig auctions. I love it. So good to be back on the show. Leyland's, who's one of our advertisers, really nice auction. I strongly urge any of our listeners, if you haven't checked out their auctions yet and haven't registered, please do so. They've got some great material in that. All right, we've got about 20 seconds. That's it for now. Hopefully we'll have another show next week again. I know we're getting a lot more listens right now because there's just not that much to do. So we appreciate all our new listeners, and we appreciate any questions. Don't be afraid to either drop us a line and we'll talk about it. And if you have a collection that wants to be featured, want to talk about your collection, contact us also. Joe, thanks for being on, and we'll be talking to you.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by to listen to another episode here on the Sports History Network. Our podcasters are passionate about uncovering and sharing sports stories from yesteryear. And if you didn't know it already, we have over 30 shows across the network covering all sorts of sports history topics. In fact, here's a glimpse into one of our awesome podcasts here on the network.
Each week, the official Football Learning Academy podcast will take you deep into the history of pro football through interviews with players, coaches, or administrators in the NFL, as well as interviews with Pro Football Hall of Fame selectors, authors, and historians. You'll learn how the game evolved and important moments that shaped the sport into what it is today. And don't miss the Pro Football History Nugget of the Week. Listen to the official Football Learning Academy podcast on the Sports History Network.
How about that? I bet you're super hyped to go listen to that new podcast, right? Well, to learn about this show and all the other podcasts on the network, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Head over there today to find your next favorite sports history podcast.